This is peace, power, and purpose 360.
Hey, welcome back to Peace, Power, and Purpose, PPP 360 Degrees Podcast. This is David Alexander, and we're here for another hot moment to share information. This is all about a full life transformation, and it happens right here on this podcast. And certainly we're so glad to be back with you on another event here, and we just hope that since the last time it stirred up some conversation, that what we said was thought-provoking. We talked about power, but tonight we'd like to take it to the third pillar of this platform, which is talking about purpose. And certainly to have peace, to have power, it has to be a purpose behind it. And when we talk about purpose, we're talking about your spiritual calling, the direction that your life is going in, or it's just a Christ-centered or God-centered life. You know, you got to believe that there's a greater power somewhere that has a purpose for you in this space and time in this world. And it challenges us to think beyond the natural, looking at the supernatural, because, again, we are all spiritual beings, whether you want to agree with that or not. And we're heading in a direction, a destiny of some sort, and it's purpose-driven. You know, even the road that leads to destruction has a purpose. So you can live a self-destructing life, and people are not surprised when your life is destroyed. But imagine if you live a purpose-driven life that's to a great outcome. You know, imagine that. So let's look at even a definition of purpose, you know, because, you know, in order to have a good, healthy conversation, we need to have some kind of groundwork as to what we mean when we talk about purpose. So, you know, first of all, when you talk about a purpose of a person's life, that means there's a reason for which you even exist, okay? And I believe everyone in this world has a purpose. You know, one of the wisest kings in the world says there's a time and a season for everything under the sun. That means everything has a purpose, and it has a season, it has a time frame in which that's supposed to operate. So as long as, I've heard one one writer says, I think it's Dr. Tompkins, says that as long as there's breath in your body, you can change and you can get some things done. So as long as you're living, there's an opportunity to you to do something positive in this world that could help you and also help yourself. First of all, understanding your own purpose, understanding your own reason for existence is very powerful. I was reading an article about a conversation between a young man and Warren Buffett, and the young man pressed him and said, hey, tell me something as a young man in a statement that might help me be or have a chance to be successful like you are. And I'm not going to quote it because sometimes I can mess something up real bad trying to quote it, but I'll tell you what he said. He said, do something today that the future you will thank you for doing it. Think about that. Do something today that the future you will thank you for doing it. That's living a purpose-driven life. That means you're not roaming through life aimlessly. Your life has a direction. You're becoming somebody that one day you're going to be proud of who you become. And you know, at some point in the stages of life, when you find out what your God-given talents are, you find out what your purpose in life are, or your purpose is, and you begin to pursue it, you feel better. When your life is out of line and you really either don't know what your purpose is, you're living every day and you're experiencing, well, I don't even know why I'm doing this. Or you might be doing the right things. You're tired of doing it because you don't see the benefit. So it's important for you to know what your purpose, what your destiny in life look. What are you being driven to? You know? And even what you're doing. You don't want to just do things just for the sake of doing it. It has to have a purpose. Living a purpose-driven life is not just a book title. It should be a mindset. You don't go to work just to say, I went to work. You go to work to earn a wage, to either give a benefit or to gain a benefit of some sort. So it's not without a purpose. So your work is being done because it's purpose-driven. Or coming up with new ideas. What's the purpose? Think about all the inventions that people have come up with, whether they got credit for it or not. They had purpose in life. And some of them came up with one right after the other. And, you know, they weren't done. They thought of something else. I mean, we read about them all the time. And sometimes I guess you have to ask yourself, did they do anything else in life? Yeah, they probably did. Sometimes people, they're so resourceful, they're so useful because they're operating in their own purpose. And they're spilling over in so many different arenas. How many times have you read about people who are famous or people that you don't know anything about, but you found out about them? We find out pillars in the community. They were involved in multifaceted venues. And you say, I didn't know they had that kind of talent. You know, some people are probably shocked. I mentioned in my last podcast about Keela Richardson. I didn't know she was that talented. Man, that whole family is talented. You know, you probably got people in your family that's talented. And if you get to moving in your purpose, you're going to inspire them. How many times have you heard about the first person that graduated from college in the family, and all of a sudden the family is overflowing with college graduates? How many times have you heard about somebody in the same neighborhood that all of a sudden now recruiters are going through that neighborhood looking for talent? Who are some of your friends? Sometimes all it takes is a person to operate in their purpose in life. And not only do you open doors for yourself, but you open doors for others. You create opportunities. I mean, where did you learn this at? Well, they taught this in my neighborhood. You know, I look at some chefs now, and I look at their families. Man, they came from a families of cooks. And even some of the things they're doing now, the creativity comes with purpose, comes with being intentional, means doing, acting deliberately, by design, because it's on purpose, okay? Having some meaning behind it. You want to make things better. You want to impact life. Songs are written with a purpose behind it, to either comfort, to inspire, or to promote an idea. You're right. That's why we love the performing arts, because it's purpose-driven. But now, let me tell you something about purpose. There are things that are done on purpose to kill your motivation, that will make you avoid. It goes back into power, the power of avoidance. It can work positively. It can work negatively in your life. You know, when we understand the importance of staying away from certain types of people, certain types of environments, certain types of vibes and energies, we avoid those at any cost. So avoidance is not always bad. Sometimes it's part of your resilience. You done been down that dark road before. You know what? When you overspend, and gone financially bankrupt, not to mention been evicted or had a couple of repos, not to mention having to file bankruptcy, and you learn from it, oh, there's just certain things you're going to avoid. And you don't care what nobody says. You don't care about the sales. You don't care about the low interest rate. You don't care about the promotions. You're going to avoid it. You know why? Because if you're going to err, you're going to err on caution because you're very intentional. That's purpose driven. You're determined not to go back down that dark road again. And so now you're driven by a force, and sometimes it's a negative force, a negative experience. Remember the first time you touched something hot? Oh, it burned you. It burned you real good. It embedded in your brain and your senses. So when somebody says hot, you got your own personal frame of reference. So there's some hot things in life. There are hot relationships that you definitely want to be in again because you learned from it. So you're going to avoid it. Now it's a force with negative, sometimes traumatic experiences behind it. Is driving you in a total different and now a positive direction. And it's beyond yourself because it's purpose driven. It's not about you anymore. It's about people you know watching you. I had a little meme that someone sent to me one time. It's about a lion walking forward, and he had a cub walking alongside, looking up, and says, "I thought about quitting till I saw who was watching me." Man, you don't know how many times in my career, my personal life, I just wanted to quit because it was hard. It was emotionally stressful. And you couldn't just sit around people and have a pity party because they were looking at you. They were drawing strength from you. So you couldn't have a weak moment. You couldn't do like you felt at the moment. You had to be purpose driven. You had to look at this thing as being beyond yourself. Because even though you wanted to quit, even though you wanted to throw in the towel, you saw who was watching. That's why sometimes, man, I look back at those golden nuggets come from my parents and grandparents when they were denying themselves. They were depriving themselves of things that they could have used for themselves because they saw their children's future. They saw their grandchildren. They're not going to make it if I don't make this sacrifice. So it goes far beyond yourself. It's now something purposeful that's beyond you. And it's a driving force. You say, I got to make it. That's how people work several jobs. That's how they went out and worked a full day's work on one man's job and came back home and they took care of livestock to sell some, to barter some. They plowed fields after they've done their 8 hours, their 10-hour work because they had to have that extra. If you want to go from ordinary to extraordinary, you got to be willing. You got to be purpose-driven to go the extra mile, to put forth the extra effort. And you know, I know some of you are tired right now, but I believe you got it. That's where you got to reach deep down inside and say, man, there's a dream, there's a vision that I know is me. I'm not dreaming it in vain, but I got to get up and take action. I got to get myself around what I can do and master that. And then every step I take has got to be toward my goal, whether it's little steps or big steps. And if I don't know all the things I need to know, that's where the strength and power, the strength and power in relationships is going to get me and keep me on my purpose-driven track. And sometimes you got to say, Lord, God Almighty, help me. Because it's bigger than you. It's going to take a power higher than you. And that's why I say, you know, I love this scripture. For we know that all things work together for the good of them who love God and who are the called according to his purpose. So I am wealthy. I am abundance. I am. You got to keep saying it till you believe it. I am certainty itself. Knowledge is power. Power is driven by purpose. Stay with us. You can do it. Stay with us. Peace, power, and purpose. 360 degrees. It's going to help you have a full life transformation because you're in the right place at the right time and you're talking the right stuff with the right people. Stay with us now. Share it with your friends. Like us and follow us on Instagram. Like us and follow us on Facebook, because you know what? We're laying the foundation because we're going somewhere with this. And you know what? I don't want to go on this journey by myself. I want you right here with us. And you know what? A super shout out to my boy, Sean, your boy. He's making this thing happen. He's making it happen, man. And guess what? We're going to make it happen for you. But you got to stay with us, okay? Share it with your friend. Like us. Give us your comments. And let's come back again for another powerful hour of PPP 360 Degrees Podcast with David Alexander. Peace out.
This is peace, power, and purpose 360.